Part 5. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 41. Great Demon King Ogata, how do you think about that matter? Makoto Takahashi looked at the Great Demon King Ogata with a regretful expression on his face. Rejoice, this time the purple-haired bastard became the scapegoat. The original one, the plan is to use it against you. Humph. Kid, it's too early for you to say this now. Demon King Ogata snorted coldly and looked at Makoto Takahashi calmly. The first step of the plan, the key point is you. Wait until you get out of the first step. One step, let's think about that plan again. Rina looked at the two men in front of her with some confusion, while Yoshida on the side was even more confused, not knowing what the two were talking about. However, the two seemed to have a tacit understanding and did not explain anything. Instead, under the leadership of Demon King Ogata, they came to a music training class. Looking at the familiar sign, Demon King Ogata stood at the door with a look of nostalgia on his face. I really miss you. Demon King Ogata suddenly sighed and turned to look at Takahashi, Makoto and Princess Rina. Do you two still remember this place? Yes, of course I remember. Rina showed a smile on her face and looked at Makoto Takahashi closely. This is the place where I met Makoto-kun for the first time. Here. Makoto Takahashi frowned and began to enter memory mode. I see, is this the place where career mentors gather, the legendary paradise for career changers? We have called Teacher Murong before. I think the teacher is waiting for us now. Ogata Demon King led everyone and walked slowly inside. Looking at Yoshida, who looked confused, Ogata Demon King found it rare. He explained compassionately, Teacher Murong is my mentor, and he was also the teacher who taught Rina and that kid the piano. Teacher Murong. After hearing this name, Yoshida became a little confused. I think I have heard of the surname Murong somewhere. The best person in Dongjo music. After Ogata the Great Demon King gave the prompt, as expected, Yoshida showed a shocked look on his face. Haha, the number one person in Dongjo music is just a bad old man who loves to play games. A kind-faced old man slowly walked out from the side. Ag, you are exaggerating. Now just a bad old man. Oh, are those Xiao Rina and Xiao Cheng over there? Long time no see. Long time no see, teacher. Demon King Ogata showed a faint smile on his face and bowed slightly. I have brought those songs that I told you about before, teacher. I hope I won't disturb you, teacher. Hello, teacher, I'm disturbing you again. Her Royal Highness Princess Rina's etiquette is impeccable and perfect. Rina truly respects Teacher Murong from the bottom of her heart. Hey, teacher, you are still in good spirits. Makoto Takahashi walked forward with a strange smile on his face and whispered in his ear, recently, it seems that there are a lot of new works here, teacher. Oh? Really? Teacher Murong squinted his eyes, with a look of anticipation on his face. That's really great. There haven't been any interesting games recently, which makes me feel bored. Teacher, your attitude of life goes on and games don't stop is really a role model for us. Makoto Takahashi completely fell into admiration mode. My recent classmate, the eldest lady named Izumi Nakata, I have recommended many games to you. Yoshida suddenly felt that he had entered a strange world. A genius cartoonist and a genius musician looked like two game enthusiasts. It is said that the reason why the two became masters and apprentices was not so much to improve their piano skills and musical literacy, but rather to establish a master-student relationship just to play games together. Ahem. Demon King Ogata couldn't stand it any longer. He coughed hard and interrupted the duo of game fans. Teacher, would you like to? Huh? Oh, I remember. Teacher Murong showed a trace of embarrassment on his face, and looked at Ogata Demon King with some curiosity. Ag, what happened to the music you mentioned before? You, a genius music producer, since I think it's impossible to write a work within 20 years. It's your beloved disciple, that brat. Demon King Ogata looked at Makoto Takahashi with some displeasure. Now Makoto Takahashi has given up music, started drawing comics, and considers himself a cartoonist. Well, Xiao Chang, a trace of surprise flashed in Teacher Murong's eyes, this is really a bit unexpected. I thought it was Xiao Rina who said it. Ag, you must know that Xiao Cheng's talent is similar to yours, but if you are the same as Xiao Rina, in comparison, there is a huge gap between the two of you. I know this. The great demon King Ogata ignored Takahashi Makoto intentionally, as if there was something in his words, so in order to let Rina, anyone who tries to hinder me, I will prevent them from approaching Rina. Your Highness, may I invite you to play with me? Makoto Takahashi responded directly to the devil's provocation. He took Rina's hand and led the princess to the piano. And then he went to another piano on the side. I regret for your ignorance, and I feel inferior for your ignorance. Ignorant people of the world, please be shocked and worship. The god of music is coming at this moment. After Makoto Takahashi finished speaking, he looked at Rina. The two exchanged looks, took a deep breath, and started playing piano music. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, born in Salzburg during the Holy Roman Empire, is one of the greatest classical music composers in Europe. In the history of Western music, he is the only one who is undoubtedly recognized as a unique genius in the music industry. Mozart composed concertos, symphonies, sonatas, serenades, diversions, etc., which became the main forms of later classical music. He was also an expert in opera, and his achievements are immortal to the changes of the times. This two-piano piece was specially composed by Mozart for his beloved disciple. It is also the only two-piano piece in Mozart's life. Of course, there are scholars in that world who believe that this two-piano piece was not so much written by Mozart for his beloved disciple as it was written purely for the enjoyment of music. Makoto Takahashi's piano skills are not considered top-notch, especially in the ears of Teacher Murong. There are some areas where his technique is a bit immature. But this kind of minor flaw is insignificant compared to the existence of the music itself. However, compared to Takahashi Makoto, Rina's performance seems a bit. Stop, my princess. Makoto Takahashi suddenly stopped and looked at Rina with some trouble. Princess, you seem very nervous. Because. Rina looked at the great demon King Ogata with a shy expression on her face. This song is related to. I see. Makoto Takahashi nodded thoughtfully and began to mock the great demon King Ogata. It's because of the existence of the great demon King Ogata that you have been burdened with things you shouldn't have, which has affected the quality of the entire song. You brat, you really dare to say that? Demon King Ogata pushed up his glasses and looked at Makoto Takahashi with an evil look. However, as a top music producer, Ogata the great demon king did not refute Takahashi Makoto's words. Rina is not in the best condition. This is an indefensible fact. So, Your Highness Princess. Makoto Takahashi ignored the great demon King Ogata on the side, but looked directly at Rina with a sunny face. Let us do it again. Let this song become the sonata that commemorates our love, becomes the dawn that defeats the great demon King Ogata, and penetrates the darkness shrouded in the shadow of the great demon King Ogata. Yes, Rina nodded vigorously, closed her eyes, and after taking a few deep breaths, she opened her eyes again and returned to a calm state. Makoto-kun, let's start, just like we practiced before. Yes, that's what it feels like. Makoto Takahashi smirked. Take the move. Ogata the great demon king. Explosive blast bullet of destruction. Yoshida stood aside, looking at the Ogata demon king with a slightly twitching corner of his mouth with a sympathetic look, and had an epiphany called empathy. Yoshida, who has been tortured by Takahashi Saichuji for a long time, finally found a companion today, the great devil named Ogata Eiji. In line with the principle that the enemy of his enemy is his friend, Yoshida decided to have a good discussion with the great demon king Ogata later on some matters related to dealing with a certain middle-class manga artist. The piano music started to play again. This time, Princess Rina was inspired by Takahashi Makoto. Well, rather than being inspired, it would be better to say that Rina fell into a strange state because of what Takahashi Makoto said just now. Although his hands kept dancing between the black and white keys, his whole heart was already drifting to the side, focusing on Makoto Takahashi who was playing. Makoto Takahashi didn't seem to feel Rina's gaze, and was focused on playing the piano music. At the very beginning, Makoto Takahashi's purpose in producing these famous songs was just to crush the purple-haired bastard to death. However, while playing with Rina these days, Takahashi Makoto suddenly felt that his actions were too selfish. The reason why famous songs are called famous songs is not only because they are a beautiful melody, but more importantly, because they all have stories behind them and carry the dreams of the composers when they created them. Perhaps Takahashi Makoto has no obligation to let these famous songs bloom in this world. But oh, such beautiful things cannot lose the glory and pride they should have because of their own selfishness. Maybe, in this parallel world, those comics that have not appeared also exist in the same way. Monopoly and unwilling to share with others, this selfish sin, probably no one can bear it, right? When you first saw Al, in order for his brother Edward to defeat the villain in the flask, he exchanged his soul for his brother's arm. Did you shed tears when you saw that he saw through life and death and was not afraid of sacrifice? Did you ever feel heartbroken when you saw Lulu successfully playing the evil tyrant and the terrifying Demon King, attracting the hatred of the entire world, and then being pierced by Suzaku's sword? When you saw Fengza disappearing at her sister's wedding and Zayazu dying, did you burst into tears? When you first saw Saber struggling in despair for the persistence in her heart, were you ever inexplicably irritated? When you first saw Zhou Wei disappear, were you as heartbroken as Xiao Guang? At first, the piano in Makoto Takahashi's hand had already stopped, with tears in his eyes, staring blankly ahead. This originally cheerful piano music made Takahashi Makoto think of many, many things. He suddenly felt an inexplicable depression in his heart and wanted to vent it out. Whether it's plagiarizing comics or music, what's the meaning of my coming to this world? Is time travel just a coincidence? No, 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 there is no coincidence in this world, everything is inevitable. Think about it carefully. If I'm right, Takahashi Makoto was silent, thinking, frowning tightly. Makoto, are you okay? Seeing this, Rina hugged Takahashi Makoto anxiously, pulling Takahashi Makoto back to reality from thinking, did something happen? Is it Rina? No, I just thought of something. Takahashi Makoto gently wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, and hugged Rina tightly with both hands. Just like before Sai disappeared, I finally understood the meaning of my coming to this world. Yes, maybe this is the meaning of what I did after I came to this world. The meaning of Makoto coming to this world. Rina looked up at Takahashi Makoto, full of confusion. Is it going to start again? Yoshida suddenly noticed the smile that began to appear on Takahashi Makoto's face, and a strong chill came over him. Become the agent of the previous life, create the classics of our original world in this world, and surpass all living beings. Takahashi Makoto let go of Rina, pierced his hair with the fingertips of his left hand, covered half of his face and forehead, and began to laugh wildly. Oh, foolish people of the world, shock and worship me, Haoru Anjin Kuma. I am Takahashi Makoto, an agent from another dimension, a crazy cartoonist. Smash. Die with honor. Cheers. Madman. Invincible. Takahashi Makoto. Wahahahahahahaha. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 42. Let's not mention the incident that broke out in the second grade after Hashi Makoto was possessed by the president. Because of the song, Teacher Murong and Yoshida started to argue. Xiao Cheng, you should stop drawing comics, This was the emotion that teacher Murong expressed after listening to Takahashi Cheng's performance. This old man with some gray hair, who loves games and music, looked at Makoto Takahashi with burning eyes. It's not that drawing comics is not good, but in my opinion, drawing comics is simply wasting your talent in music. This for a musician, this is definitely an unforgivable sin. Mr. Murong, please wait a moment. Faced with blatant poaching, Yoshida as an editor cannot tolerate it. Takahashi Makoto is a cartoonist who has been serializing for 4 years. Maybe you have only seen Makoto in musical talent, but as an editor and a person who loves comics, I have seen Makoto Takahashi's talent and talent in comics. As you said, people who are talented in certain aspects, if they are not here, it would be a sin to play out in the field. With teacher Murong attacking first, the battle for Makoto Takahashi has just begun. Now, Your Highness, just watch. Makoto Takahashi pulled Rina beside him with a proud look on his face. This is the destined enemy. According to the extraordinary development of certain plots, the two of them will definitely meet in the end. Falling in love and killing each other, just like Lelouch and Suzaku. Whatever you choose is fine, Makoto-kun. Rina gently held Takahashi Makoto's arm with a smile on her face. Rina just needs to be with Makoto-kun. Oh, the great demon King Ogata is watching. Makoto Takahashi looked at the great demon King Ogata deliberately provocatively, with an arrogant look on his face. It seems that the great demon King Ogata is a little unhappy. Do you want to take advantage of this? Let's take this opportunity to hold a wedding or something. Let the great demon King Ogata be the witness. Kid, I think. Demon King Ogata pushed up his glasses with a cold expression on his face. It seems we need to talk alone. There are many things that need to be explained clearly. And that plan? That's true. After hearing the reminder from the great demon King Ogata, a cold light flashed in Takahashi Makoto's eyes. Let's talk alone. The planner has been waiting for a long time. He. Then, under Rina's surprised and puzzled gaze, the two of them showed similar smiles on their faces and left one after the other. As for teacher Murong and Yoshida over there, their war has fallen into a stalemate. They only have eyes for each other. Is it really about to start? The pattern of falling in love and killing each other. In a certain cafe, Demon King Ogata and Makoto Takahashi were sitting opposite each other. Neither of them spoke, but the atmosphere between the two was so strange that the waiters passing by broke into cold sweats. Feeling. Ogata Demon King, I'm very confused. Makoto Takahashi kept adding sugar cubes to the coffee, slowly stirring the coffee that had become mushy. You are really a qualified girl control, really? This is the prerequisite for our cooperation. Are you complaining or angry in that tone? Demon King Ogata sneered. I didn't do anything about that matter to make you feel uncomfortable, right? In your opinion, I am the most Rina's brother. If something like this happens, he should ask Rina to hold a press conference and clarify all the facts, right? Ogata Demon King, you really underestimate me. Makoto Takahashi raised his coffee and took a sip, frowning a little, and then continued to add sugar cubes. If you really do this, then I can only give you a gift. Short-sighted comment. That's right, Demon King Ogata pushed up his glasses, with a strange smile on his face. This will only make Rina fall into an endless deadlock. For things like scandals, the more explanations are given, the more unexplainable they become. It's clear. Rina will be disturbed by these rumors and affect her future development. This is something I don't want to see. Besides, what's the use of such a clarification? It's just an opportunity for the other party to gain popularity. That's right, Takahashi nodded sincerely and understandingly, trampling on the dignity of our king, trampling on the smile of the princess, that purple-haired bastard. For the enemy, using violent means may be able to exhale a bad breath in a short time, but... The great demon King Ogata darkened, and the smile on his face was crumbling. The real destruction should make the enemy feel fear, Horrible, losing the will to fight. Since you have become an enemy, you should be completely eliminated. Repent in hell with a desperate heart, especially, ahem, of course, I just hate a certain person for doing this. That's all for taking advantage of my sister. Oh, it seems that the great demon king has truly awakened. Makoto Takahashi looked at the great demon king Ogata, who had begun to turn dark because of his sister control, with the same smile on his face. You have great ideas, come with me, kill the purple-haired bastards. You said you wanted to draw a music comic before. I'm afraid you've already thought about it today, right? The great demon king Ogata broke away from his darkening fanaticism and calmed down completely. Writing a new song for Rina, indirectly speaking to me, it was planned from the beginning that I would cooperate with you. But kid, could you predict that I would cooperate with you? You know, I hate you very much. I hate you too, the great demon king Ogata. Makoto Takahashi stood up from his seat and looked at the great demon king Ogata with a serious look on his face. I see that you are unhappy. I hate you, and I even want to kill you. It's a cry from my soul. It's the expectation of being the king of braves. It's a mission that comes from destiny. Humph, the great demon king Ogata snorted coldly. Do you know why I hate you, kid? With your self-righteous thoughts, can a person who only knows how to live in his own world communicate with normal people? But I will never let you appear next to my sister. That's what happens after that. Makoto Takahashi continued the topic just now. Yes, that's what happens after that. Since we all hate each other, sooner or later we have to show off. Like a man, be upright and upright, fight openly and from the front. The winner will stay by the princess's side and protect the princess Smile forever, while the loser will silently withdraw from the game and become a shadow in the darkness. Ogata Demon King. Do you dare to accept this battle? A man's battle. A chill flashed in Ogata's eyes, and his sister control soul was fully activated. In order to keep my most important sister away from the poison of you, a middle-class brat, is there any choice? But now, first of all, what needs to be done is kill that purple-haired bastard, Makoto Takahashi said with high morale. The war between the king and the demon king is not something that just a slime bastard can participate in. That kind of inferior creature should be in the ditch, like a microorganism. Living twisted and struggling. So, the situation is basically like this. Demon King Ogata looked a little unkind. Although I hate you, little brat, it seems that this cooperation is very necessary. Such a detailed plan needs to be carefully arranged. Come on. After all, your previous plans were really superficial. Oh? Is that so? This is a provocation from the great demon king. We must fight back, and our momentum cannot be weak. Well, it's better than sitting in the background and doing nothing, right? Okay, let's discuss these fearless disputes when we get the chance. Demon King Ogata frowned. The most critical part of the plan is the songs you wrote. I was a little worried about this before, but there is Teacher Murong's help, I think. What's your expression? No, when I heard you mention Teacher Murong, I thought of something. The twitchy smile on Takahashi Makoto's face made Demon King Ogata very unhappy. However, considering the issue of cooperation, he could only listen patiently to Takahashi Makoto. Xiao Cheng said, since you are Master Murong's disciple, you must master that skill. He, Murong, Gasu Murong's unique skill. What is that? What Gasu Murong? Demon King Ogata suddenly became a little worried. Are you sure that such a partner will not kill his teammates? Are you sure it's not the kind of existence that gives one blood and one head? Repay the other person with his own way. Takahashi Makoto's eyes flashed with a chill. Since I am a disciple of Teacher Murong, I naturally want to carry forward the Murong family's famous skills. That purple-haired bastard doesn't like to take advantage of fans and public opinion. This is really asking for death. When will your manga start to be published? After hearing Takahashi Makoto's words, Ogata the Great Demon King quickly calculated in his mind. After a moment, he said with something in mind, there is still half a day left for the school festival of Sacred Heart Academy. Month's time, Rina's concert is still 1 month away. Sacred Heart Academy's school festival, concert. Makoto Takahashi smiled after hearing these two pieces of news. No problem, there should be another week before the manga can be officially published. But when it comes to the school festival, I have a new idea. Are you inviting teacher Murong and his friends to go to the school festival together? Demon King Ogata also showed a happy look on his face. This is a good idea. Let Rina become the most dazzling one in the entire school festival it exists. But are you worried about those songs? Makoto Takahashi understood Demon King Ogata's worries and shook his head disdainfully. Tisk tisk, Demon King Ogata, you have underestimated the existence of those monsters. Those classic songs, in my original world, could not be surpassed for many years. You are really confident, kid. Demon King Ogata looked at Makoto Takahashi with some displeasure, tapped his fingers on the table, and sneered, but you seem to have forgotten one thing. Rina is a popular idol singer. According to the classification for me, she should be considered a pop singer. And Rina's new songs cannot be exposed before the concert, so just piano music is not enough. Do you still want pop music? Makoto Takahashi said confidently. You will know about such small things after the manga is published. Humph. That's the best. As Demon King Ogata stood up to leave, he suddenly looked at Makoto Takahashi. Although I really want to say, happy cooperation, I still think you are really annoying. Kid. Both each other. Makoto Takahashi glanced at the great Demon King Ogata with disdain. Be prepared to be slaughtered, the great Demon King Ogata, it will be you next time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 43. Entertainment news was playing on TV, and that purple-haired bastard was brazenly opening fire, mocking and provoking the cartoonists who participated in this event. And Takahashi Makoto happened to see this news when he was changing channels, so. Purple-haired bastard, you dare to speak nonsense at this time? Takahashi Makoto, who was watching TV, suddenly sneered. Well, in a few days, I will let you experience a horrifying war. Let me crush your inexplicable confidence and courage. Speaking of Ah Chang, what is the grudge between you and that singer, Lee Binjian, the only male assistant? Asked Chang Guanyu beside him quietly with some confusion. Does the eldest lady know the inside story? I know this. Before Shang Guanyu spoke, when Aoi spoke first with an angry face, I saw that singer before, saying that he would participate in this event. He wanted to use the identity of a singer to openly canvass for votes. This kind of behavior, why is that so? I used to like him very much. You just saw these. Shang Guanyu smiled noble and coldly. Do you have any special feelings about Aiken's comics this time? Special feelings? The model of 3 heroines is rare. Lee Binjian looked very professional, with a smile that all men understand. Looking at Takahashi Makoto, the 3 heroines are very distinctive. Tisk tisk, is Aiken planning to start drawing Crystal Palace comics? Sure enough, Crystal Palace and the like are men's ambitions and romances. Please don't use your inferior monkey's IQ and bad thoughts to pollute Aiken. Shang Guanyu, the assistant leader, looked at Lee Binjian coldly, turned his head and looked at Wen Aoi beside him. Haven't you discovered yet? The music involved in this work is all original by Aiken himself. So what? Wen Aoi scratched her head in confusion. I don't know much about music. I borrowed the sheet music from Aiken for some of the songs. Shang Guanyu's eyes were full of admiration. The songs in the work are not something that ordinary people can write. Although it's hard to imagine, it's the fact. Aiken is not only a cartoonist, but also a great songwriter. Is it my illusion? Li Binjian looked at Shang Guanyu with some confusion. Why did you keep staring at me when you talked? So congratulations, you will have another junior. Shang Guanyu looked at Li Binjian. I have heard some news that the music in Aiken's works has surprised the music professors of your Imperial Capital University. You know, in the whole of Dongzhou, Imperial Capital University is famous for its science and engineering of physics and chemistry. At the same time, the music department of Imperial Capital University is ranked in the top 3 among the schools in Dongzhou. I hope so. Li Binjian looked at Zhao Qiaocheng hesitantly. Aiken may not become my junior. Is that so? Shang Guanyu showed a playful smile on her face. Isn't your Imperial Capital University always famous for its weird talents? It's too early to discuss these now. Li Binjian heard Shang Guanyu complaining about his school, and couldn't help feeling depressed. When he reached out to pick up the food, he found that the table was already empty. Wenoaoi, is it you again? Sorry, Ah Cheng's cooking skills are really. Wenoaoi stuck out her tongue a little embarrassedly. You guys are busy chatting, so. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. As the owner, Takahashi Makoto did not open the door, but put Sadaharu in his arms on the ground, pointed at the door, and signaled Sadaharu to open the door. In the stunned eyes of the 3 assistants, Sadaharu opened the door. Sure enough, are the animals raised by monsters also monsters? Li Binjian rubbed his eyes in disbelief, looking at Sadaharu, who returned to Takahashi Makoto's arms and acted cute, and sighed. Even Ah Cheng's dog has embarked on a path against the sky. The people who came to Takahashi Makoto's house are the Yachin Mu Menjai duo who live next door. Lan Dai and Huangmao Glasses have been working hard recently. After getting together to discuss, they returned to the studio to revise the comic manuscript again. Today, I saw the interview with the purple-haired bastard on TV before. The 2 of them were originally a little relaxed, and they became nervous again. The 2 were quite satisfied with their own works. The reason they came here was to see how Takahashi Makoto had done. Unfortunately, you are a step late. Takahashi Makoto looked at the 2 with some sympathy. My cat has taken the work. But don't worry, after all, our enemy is that purple-haired bastard. But Lan Dai was a little absent-minded. The problem is that the other party has gained a lot of support through this incident. So you are afraid? Takahashi Makoto looked at the 2 with a cold face. You will be cartoonists participating in the future King's Feast together in the future. Now it's just a small trial, are you afraid? The so-called king, even in a desperate situation, still has to stay calm, and move forward without retreating or avoiding. But look at you now, you are not worthy of being called a king. Just a bastard, you are afraid. Are you really qualified to participate in the feast? What about the consciousness you carry? But don't you think that what Makino Koji did is despicable? The yellow-haired man with glasses was angry. Despicable? I don't think so. Takahashi Makoto shook his head and denied the view of the man with yellow hair and glasses, because he is just a scumbag. He has no courage to fight against the king, so he took such action. To be honest, from the beginning, the scumbag has already lost. The reason why you are still struggling with this problem now is that you have no confidence in your work. It is so. The man with yellow hair and glasses showed an affirmative smile on his face. Looking at you, Cheng, you are so confident, we feel at ease. Because this event is a bit unfair to you. The conditions are limited and the time is tight, but we still want to defeat you. I see. Takahashi Makoto lowered his head and was silent for a moment, then raised his head and looked at the 2 of them. The purpose of your coming is, not because of that purple-haired bastard, but to challenge me? Good awareness, but still too naive. Is that so? Lan Dai's eyes began to burn with fighting spirit. This work is the most satisfying one for Chi-Ren and me, so the winner this time must be us. But I said that there is only one reason for me to participate this time, which is to kill that purple-haired bastard. Takahashi Makoto looked at the two people in front of him with some regret, so I didn't have the opportunity to compete with you this time, it's really a pity. But it doesn't matter, as long as you start serializing, there will be a chance to fight. So come on, Yachin Mumenjai. The three assistants next to him completely became onlookers, but the performances of the three people were different. Miss Shang Guanyu's eyes flashed with envy, and she seemed to want to join in, while Li Benji Musa brother, but stared at Takahashi Makoto. No one knew what he was thinking. When Oaoi gently rubbed her stomach, it seems that she ate too much before. In order to hold this event, the editorial department of Yorangsha decided to release a special issue. This special issue will publish the works participating in this event at the same time, and then let readers rank these published works according to their personal preferences, and then let readers send back the reader survey. Music Lover and Nana, the author is Zero, that is, Takahashi Makoto's work, published at the end of this special issue. As for the author's name, under Yashida's strong interference, Takahashi Makoto was somewhat reluctant to change it to this. The reason why Takahashi Makoto's work was placed at the end was, on the one hand, because of the disadvantageous conditions of Takahashi Makoto's original agreement, on the other hand, it was to facilitate the attachment of song scores. The work published at the front is the work of the silver-haired boy, Kiyoshi Knight. This comic tells the story of a bad high school student's hobbies. In this work, there are constant jokes and many passionate battle scenes, which is in line with the theme of Shonen Jump. The second place is Yitan Detective Trap by the duo of Yashiro Mumenjai. This comic tells a suspenseful story about a fraud detective who uses various frauds to reason and solve cases. The very bold ideas in it really make many readers shine. The third place is Hide Outdoor by Uncle Nakai and the beautiful sister Aoki Hong. This comic tells the story of a little boy who accidentally enters the world of fairies and is forced to choose to become a companion of fairies or be eaten by fairies. The creativity of the plot is very fairy tale style, but what surprises readers the most is the delicate and exquisite paintings throughout the work. The fourth place is the work of the purple-haired bastard mentioned by Makoto Takahashi, AlternateWorld. This comic tells the story of this purple-haired bastard. Makoto Takahashi said the sentence almost with gritted teeth. This kind of work, being able to participate in this event, is already a gift from God. It's an insult to us to participate in the feast of the king with such a low-level. Bastard, scum, bastard. Takahashi Makoto threw the comic aside while cursing, picked up the phone and started to contact the Great Devil Ogata. Great Devil Ogata, it seems that I overestimated that bastard. Takahashi Makoto was indignant and roared into the phone, that scum is simply insulting the comic. I was thinking before that if the work of that purple-haired bastard was not bad, the plan would be slightly changed. After all, I still understand the principle of leaving a way out when doing things, so that we can meet again in the future, but the Great Devil Ogata held the special issue in his hand, and a smile appeared on his face. I didn't expect that his work would be so bad, right? To be honest, I was also eaten. I was shocked. Even as an outsider, I know that the worst of these published works is Coloring World. Bad, Takahashi Makoto sneered. Ogata, you are kidding. Such a low-quality work is published together with it, which is a shame for us. So there is no need to modify the previous plan, and kill that purple-haired bastard into ashes. Don't think about it again. Ogata sounded like he was persuading Takahashi Makoto, but the meaning of instigation was very obvious. What else should I consider? Takahashi Makoto complained dissatisfiedly. From another perspective, as a musician, you wrote a good song, but it was sung by a tone-deaf person, and that person was complacent and shamelessly boasted about it. What would you do? After a moment of silence, the Great Devil Ogata said coldly, this is simply an insult to my music. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 44. After the special issue is released, It takes a month to obtain feedback from readers. Readers can fill in the reader survey form according to their own preferences and send the works they wish to serialize in the order of personal preference and return it to the editorial department, but each person can only write a maximum of 3 works. The main purpose of Makoto Takahashi's participation in this event was to crush purple-haired offal into slag. This was decided from the beginning, so Makoto Takahashi didn't care about the results of his work. But after reading the manga about the purple-haired bastard, Makoto Takahashi suddenly felt a little angry. What the hell is going on with that purple-haired bastard's work? Let's not talk about the content of the work. The front part is better, but the quality of the later paintings is getting worse and worse, as if it was rushed out. Think about Aiken Mumenjai, the silver-haired guy, Uncle Nakai, and Aoki Hong. Which of these cartoonists is not serious about completing the drawings? The purple-haired bastard's playful behavior is simply a humiliation to several cartoonists who are working hard. Kuji, you really underestimate comics. This was the first thing the silver-haired guy said after he called. Humph, a bastard is a bastard. Makoto Takahashi was also very angry. That bastard still wants to participate in the feast of our king. Silver-haired little brother, the glory of our king must not be trampled on like this. That's right, if something like that really happens, then I will never watch junk again, the silver-haired guy said in an excited tone. By the way, the author of the last work, 0, is Yu Cheng, right? 3. The heroine is very special. By the way, I really like Nana. But. A smile appeared on Takahashi Makoto's face. You want to say that you won't lose this time, right? Humph. That's of course, the silver-haired guy said in a matter-of-fact tone. Yachen Mumenjai also said the same thing, right? I remember I said it at the beginning. Makoto Takahashi rubbed his head with a headache. The purpose of me painting this work was to completely kill the purple-haired bastards. Why do you all want to come and fight with me? Do I compare? It's a shame to compare with that kind of thing, the silver-haired boy said disdainfully. My opponent this time, as well as the other cartoonists who published it together, are not the only one, Cheng. Then after you kill each other, the winner can come and duel with me. Makoto Takahashi suddenly remembered the school festival and extended an invitation to the silver-haired boy. By the way, are you free next Wednesday? Come to Sacred Heart Academy and participate in our school festival. Next Wednesday, the silver-haired boy hesitated for a moment, then spoke again. Next Wednesday should be fine, but why do I have to attend your school festival? Ha 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 ha. Makoto Takahashi suddenly laughed wildly. Do you need to say this? Of course I invite you to be witnesses and see how I kill that purple-haired bastard. Yoshi, I will definitely go when the time comes. After hearing what Makoto Takahashi said, the silver-haired boy agreed decisively. Then how about calling everyone? Chenmu and I will be in charge of you. Now, leave the others to me. Well, this is better. A strange smile appeared on Takahashi Makoto's face. Our king's feast is about to begin. In order to welcome the new challengers, we naturally need a sacrifice. That purple-haired bastard will become a living sacrifice before our feast. After Takahashi Makoto hung up the phone, he went out to the next door and informed Ajumumenha to let him attend the school festival together. But to Takahashi Makoto's surprise, the person who opened the door was not Landai or the man with yellow hair and glasses, but a girl who looked familiar. Who are you? Makoto Takahashi was a little confused. God? Monster? Maid? Or someone who comes to provide special services? The other party was silent for a moment, then directly punched Takahashi Makoto's face. You're so naive. Makoto Takahashi tilted his head and blocked the opponent's straight punch with his right hand. He took a few steps back and looked up and down at the girl who was preparing to strike. A very powerful blow. It's rare for a girl to have such strength. Tisk, but I am Accelerator, who is known as the strongest person in the City Academy. What's going on? the man with yellow-haired glasses came to the door, looked at the two people who were in a hostile state, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. G&G, that person is Makoto Takahashi, who was in the same class as me in junior high school. You shouldn't have forgotten, right? I know, Mitsuki nodded and looked at Makoto Takahashi with a frown, but I still want to beat him up. Oh, that's a good realization. Makoto Takahashi nodded and looked at the man with yellow-haired glasses. I originally wanted to invite you to participate in an event, but now it seems that it really is, fight first. That's right, G&G raised his fist, his boxing posture was ready, and the battle-ready state was activated. I won't ask you about the reason for fighting, Makoto Takahashi said clearly. Before you get the treasure, you must first defeat the guardian, whether it is a dragon, a monster, or a woman. This is the essence of RPG, so, let's fight. In the end, this inexplicable battle ended in vain because of the strong obstruction of Lan Dai and Huangmao glasses. What? It turns out to be the wife of the man with yellow hair and glasses. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Takahashi Makoto looked at the angry G&G and laughed awkwardly. Just now I thought that Lan Dai and the man with yellow hair and glasses, you two can no longer satisfy each other, and you still called. G&G, I know why you want to beat up Shuyuni Makoto. Lan Dai's face was a little red. Was he embarrassed or angry? I want to give him a good beating too. Then, how about inviting you to attend the school festival of Sacred Heart College next Wednesday? Just consider it as an apology. Takahashi Makoto looked at the three people in front of him and began to persuade them. Don't look so reluctant. I asked you to go, just to invite you to be a witness. Witness what? The man with yellow hair and glasses looked at Takahashi Makoto expectantly. Are you going to propose to your princess? Young man, you are too naive. Takahashi Makoto smiled very brightly, just to let you see the beginning of the purple-haired bastard being sent to hell. In the following time, Takahashi Makoto began to send out invitations. Basically, everyone he knew was invited to attend the school festival of Sacred Heart College. My beloved cat, when the time comes, remember to bring the editorial team with you. After Yoshida answered the phone, Makoto Takahashi began to make arrangements as if he was giving an order. This time I am sending out invitations to heroes to defeat that shameless slime, the scum named purple-haired bastard. So you discuss with the commander to see if you can invite some cartoonists to come. Well, that's basically the situation. I said, hello. Moshi Moshi. Tisk. This kid hung up the phone so quickly. Yoshida listened to the busy tone coming from the phone, looking depressed. This kid, do you know that work, but it caused a lot of noise. Music Lover and Nana, although there are only 3 episodes, this work involves a lot of music, including double piano music, violin music, symphony, pop rock songs, etc., basically involving some of the famous fields of music. Many people have this misunderstanding. Music, especially for traditional music, is an elegant existence, and comics, in the eyes of many experts and masters, may just be something that is not up to standard. So who among the scholars and masters who study music attentively would have the time to read the comics that they consider inferior? What's more, the most intuitive feeling of music is listening. And the most intuitive feeling of comics is watching. The two are completely different fields. It just so happens that Makoto Takahashi has a teacher named Murong. And this teacher Murong is also known as the #1 musician in Dongjo. For his disciples who did not embark on the road of music as he expected, teacher Murong has been a little depressed recently. But no matter how depressed he is, he still has to support. So on the day the special issue was released, teacher Murong still bought a copy. This old man who loves music and games decided that if Makoto Takahashi's comics level is not good, he would persuade him to come back and continue to study music. After reading the entire special issue, teacher Murong was stunned. His hands were shaking a little, and he looked at the music scores tightly, and he was so excited that he couldn't speak. Without any hesitation, Teacher Murong got up and ran straight to the bookstore, bought 10 special issues in one breath, and then began to visit his friends, those who are known as masters and famous people in the music world. For Makoto Takahashi, the impression of music masters such as Beethoven and Mozart in his past and present lives is that they are very powerful music masters or legendary music giants, and he does not really understand the greatness of these music masters. People often say that there are often good horses, but there are not often good horse trainers. Good horses also need to be discovered by good horse trainers, otherwise they can only be a fool. Note, this is not an insult, for their whole life. Obviously, Makoto Takahashi is not a good horse trainer. But Mr. Murong and his group of music scholars are completely different. These masters who have dedicated the first half of their lives to music love music from the heart. This kind of scholars who love music purely from the heart and do not seek any utilitarianism and reputation are scholars in the true sense and masters who are truly worthy of respect. Murongzai, why don't you stay at home playing games and studying music? Why did you rush us here? What are you doing? An old man who was about the same age as Teacher Murong looked at Teacher Murong with contempt. You otaku, you called us today, are you going to introduce us to the two-dimensional world again? How is that possible? Teacher Murong rolled his eyes. I've said it many times, my name is Murongzai, not Murongzai. Let's not talk about this for now. Do you have the habit of reading comics? Is it still the same? Several people looked at each other, and one of them was interested in the youngest old lady spoke up, we are not saying anything bad about you. People of your age should have graduated from those things long ago. I knew you were thinking the wrong way. A trace of anger flashed across Murongzai's face, but in the blink of an eye it turned into pride. Humph, let me show you the masterpiece written by my favorite student. Your favorite student? Masterpiece. Several people were speechless, looking at the comic special issue on the table, and the old man who spoke first laughed. Shouldn't your favorite student be studying music? Why is he drawing comics? You guys are good. Oh, forget it, let's just listen to it yourself. Murongzai looked at the teasing eyes of several people, a little annoyed, and took out the double piano music he had recorded before. This is a collaboration between my two proud disciples. Although there are still some shortcomings in the performance skills, but you can listen to it yourself. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 45. There was only the cheerful sound of piano and the heavy breathing of several old people in the whole room. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow diamondsuit. How is it? How do you feel? Murongzai sighed with regret on his face after the music ended. It's a pity that the level of these two brats is still a little behind. Are you showing off on purpose? Someone complained. It's not like you don't know that music should be calmed down and appreciated slowly. Is the person who wrote such a work really your student? Some people also questioned. It's not like you, a cunning guy, who came up with it on your own and fooled us, right? I can't write this kind of thing. Murongzai shook his head quickly and sighed. I also doubted at the beginning that I was ignorant, but you old guys are all music masters. What songs have you not listened to? Yes, so I'll let you listen to it. Is your student, sure he is a cartoonist? He can write works of this level, but he still draws cartoons. Humph. What's the matter with your misleading looks? Murongzai was very unhappy, his face a little ugly because of his anger. Do you think I want Xiao Cheng to draw comics? I tried my best to persuade him. Many times, but the result, alas. Xiao Cheng, the slightly younger grandma said, is that the kid who studied piano with you a few years ago? I remember the name, it seems to be Takahashi Makoto, right? It turns out he started drawing comics. No wonder I haven't seen that little guy for a long time. Alan, what do you want to do? Granny Allen's question made Murongzai wary. Xiao Cheng is my student, and he is now a cartoonist. Don't have any bad ideas. What a bad idea. Granny Allen glanced at Murongzai, pointed at the special issue on the table and asked, bring these things over. Are there any works by Xiao Cheng among them? Which one is it? Let's take a look. Actually, I asked you to come here today because I have some questions. Murongzai looked a little embarrassed, which made everyone focus on him. Murongzai was a little numb when everyone saw him, but he finally gritted his teeth and said, you all know that I study piano music more, but when it comes to symphony and violin music. Wait a minute. Granny Allen interrupted Murongzai in surprise, are you saying that your most popular student not only wrote piano music, but also symphonies and violin music? What are you talking about? The situation seems to be like this. Murongzai scratched his head and explained with some embarrassment, I think that violin piece sounds very good, but when played on the piano, it loses its charm so. Where is the music score? Granny Allen is a violin master. As soon as she heard something related to the violin, she couldn't help but ask, hurry up, take it out and let me see. Fortunately, I can't do it today. I'm going to teach students, and I'm bringing my violin with me. Then the room began to repeat the previous scene, but this time, the piano was replaced by the violin. Is this song really written by your student, Xiao Cheng? Granny Allen's eyes were filled with surprise and confusion. It's really unbelievable. If it's true, you are really an amazing student. Oh, what's the use of being awesome? Murongzai's eyes were full of regret. That kid doesn't want to develop in this direction at all, he just wants to be a cartoonist wholeheartedly. No, I absolutely don't agree with this kind of thing. Granny Allen's eyes flashed with determination, Murongzai. Do you know what the songs Xiao Cheng is writing now mean? These songs can definitely be passed down to future generations. You actually let such a young man draw some comics. By the way, what do his parents think? Maybe there is a chance to talk to them. Parents, Murongzai shook his head with some regret. Unfortunately, Xiao Cheng's parents passed away in a car accident. This. Granny Allen didn't know what to say. Let's see, let's go to the school festival of Sacred Heart College next Wednesday. Murongzai looked at the puzzled looks on several people's faces and quickly began to explain, Xiao Cheng said he wanted me to invite some friends to attend. He said as long as if you go, there will be a surprise for us. School festival? That's fine. Granny Allen's eyes flashed with determination, and she looked at a few old friends around her. I'll tell you first, you all will go when the time comes, and you must convince this brat. How can someone with such talent in music draw comics? And Makoto Takahashi, who was being targeted as a man, had no idea at all. Takahashi Makoto has more important things to do now. Ogata Demon King, my side has already started, Makoto Takahashi complained into the phone, why is there no movement at all from your side? Can't you feel it? Your sister control soul is here cry. What a sister controlling spirit, kid, Ogata Demon King's voice was as cold as ever, I'll start here in the afternoon. According to the previous plan, after I finish here, it will depend on your performance at the school festival. Yeah. But. Are you still worried at this time? Makoto Takahashi curled his lips in displeasure. To be honest, I'm just a cartoonist, and I don't like any intrigues. Everything I did was originally intended to deal with you. But that purple-haired bastard jumped out first. Oh, Demon King Ogata, are you starting to get scared? Ha 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 ha, tremble in fear in front of me. If something goes wrong on your side and Rina's career is affected? Demon King Ogata threatened coldly, I will never make it easy for you, kid. Listening to the threat from the great Demon King Ogata on the other side of the phone, Makoto Takahashi snorted with some disdain and hung up the phone. Takahashi Makoto looked up at the door in front of him, took a deep breath, took out a pair of red glasses from his pocket and put them on, then opened the door and walked in. Chairman, what do you think of the plan submitted to you before the secondary halo is turned off, and the negotiation expert mode is activated? Oh? Is it you, the freshman, who proposed the plan before? The chairman is a beauty, with a hot figure and waist-length hair. The chairman narrowed his eyes and looked at Takahashi Makoto. I've seen the plan, it's very good. But, Chairman, do you have any other conditions? Makoto Takahashi pushed up his glasses. Let's just say it bluntly, the prerequisite for cooperation is mutual trust. This school used to be lifeless, and I didn't like it very much. The chairman walked to the window and looked at the leaves blown by the wind outside. The reason why we want to hold such a school festival is to make this school a little bit more vitality. Your event should be successful, right? It's not that it should be, but it must be. A trace of determination flashed in Makoto Takahashi's eyes, because the princess's smile is the existence that I will protect throughout my life. Your Highness, Princess. Haha, let's talk about it after the school festival. The chairman waved his hand. Then it's up to you, Takahashi Makoto, don't let me down. Don't make your princess cry. Of course, Makoto Takahashi bowed slightly, with a confident smile on his face. Then, Chairman, please look forward to the beginning of the greatest school festival since the founding of Sacred Heart Academy. Just when Makoto Takahashi was talking about the school festival with the chairman, the great demon king Ogata finally started taking action. This press conference is mainly to clarify some things, that is, the previous incident about Kuji. Demon King Ogata faced many media reporters with a faint smile on his face. Of course, I also invite everyone, by the way. Go to the school festival of Sacred Heart Academy. Let Rina and everyone explain the specific questions. Hello everyone, I am Rina Ogata. Rina bowed politely and said with a smile, because I have been busy preparing for the school festival and concert recently, some things have not been clarified in time. I'm really sorry. The person Rina mentioned in the previous interview was not Koji-senpai. I'm sorry that Rina didn't make it clear at the time, which caused everyone to misunderstand, and Koji-senpai to misunderstand. I'm really sorry. Rina was very polite. He apologized repeatedly, but his tone did not make people feel weak. The previous Ogata producer, my brother Ogata Eiji, wanted to allow me to practice with peace of mind and prepare for the school festival and concert, so it was delayed. I'm really sorry that this press conference has caused trouble to everyone. So, Rina-chan, who is the person you are talking about? A reporter stood up and asked the question first. I'm sorry, Rina can't say it yet. Rina looked at the disappointed expressions of reporters in the audience, and a smile appeared on her face, but that person will participate in the school festival with Rina. Is that person Rina-chan's classmate? May I ask what Rina-chan really thinks about Koji? First of all, Rina is very grateful to Koji-senpai for your appreciation. Rina's eyes showed a trace of determination, and her tone became a little tougher, but Rina already has someone she likes, so I can only say sorry to Koji-senpai. Many reporters in the audience were in an uproar and surprised after hearing the news. Everyone knows that as soon as Rina said these words, Koji's previous actions completely changed from an infatuated male singer to a sensational clown. Secondly, regarding the news about that person, please don't ask Rina again. Rina paused, with a happy smile on his face, because Rina had made an agreement with him before: as long as we can achieve success in our careers together, we will get married. So please support us and let us go on the road to chasing each other's dreams. So, how will the person Rina-chan mentioned participate in this school festival? There are still reporters who are unwilling to give up and want to continue to find out about Rina. That person. A smile appeared on Rina's face. He said that this school festival will make Rina the most dazzling existence. The most dazzling existence. Many media reporters were a little confused when they heard such remarks. It sounds very arrogant. Can Rina-chan do it? Rina can definitely do it. Faced with some difficult questions from media reporters, Rina waved her fist and stated the girl's determination with certainty, because it was that person who said it, so Rina can definitely do it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 46. Lee Na's press conference shocked many people. Among them, the most angry was the purple-haired bastard named Koji. As a public figure like a star, Koji would not express what he thought in his heart when facing the media's questioning. Instead, he confidently began to explain to the media. Did I misunderstand? Koji looked unbelievable and complained to the media with a smile, Lee Na is a girl. If you ask her like this, even if we really have an agreement, she will not say it. And we are both stars, and there are many people who don't want us to be together. This Koji may be too confident. Although many media know that this is Koji holding on, Lee Na has expressed it very clearly before, but this kind of thing is tacitly understood by everyone, and it is not said explicitly. Lee Na did say that the person she was talking about was going to attend the school festival with her. Did you, Koji, receive the invitation? When the media reported the whole thing, both true and false, Lee Na's fans and Koji's fans began to quarrel. Some supported Rina, and some supported Koji. The two sides kept arguing, but neither side had the upper hand. After arguing for a while, the two sides seemed to have reached an agreement in private, waiting for the end of the Sacred Heart Academy's school festival to decide the winner. During this period, almost all newspapers were reporting on this matter, and Rina and Koji became the targets of reporters. Rina was better off, protected by the great devil Ogata, who completely shut out the reporters who heard the news under the pretext of preparing for the school festival. So Koji became the best choice for reporters, making Koji very irritated. That woman is really ignorant. After dealing with the reporters who heard the news again, Koji smashed the guitar to pieces, with a hideous smile on his face. I must go and see that day. How did you, a woman who doesn't know how to be the most dazzling existence? The time came the day before the school festival. The location was in an empty classroom in Sacred Heart Academy. A huge screen was hung on the blackboard, and what was playing on it was the press conference of Rina. The picture was frozen at the moment when Rina declared, to become the most dazzling existence. A person wearing a black tights, a black cape with red inside and black outside, and a strange round mask on his head stood up from the seat directly below the screen, walked to the right side of the screen, pulled out a black longsword from his waist, and raised it high. The people who had just been sitting below and making noises suddenly quieted down. Gentlemen, a deep male voice came from behind the mask, and the whole audience was silent. The whole classroom seemed to echo this voice. The situation is just as you have seen, Princess Rina has made such a declaration. Then, as the personal guards of Princess Rina, you must know what to do, right? Everything is subject to your arrangement. The personal guards of nearly 100 people shouted loudly at the same time. Ask yourself, what are you? The man slashed the air with the long sword in his hand, and then raised it again. We are all the personal guards of Her Royal Highness Princess Rina, the most loyal servants of Her Royal Highness Princess, and the most devout believers of Her Royal Highness Princess. Hundreds of people stood up at the same time, knelt on one knee, and swore loudly. We are apostles and not apostles, believers and not believers. The only Lord we believe in is Her Royal Highness Princess Rina. We are willing to become Shura for Her Royal Highness Princess and punish all those who disobey us. The man turned around and knelt on one knee, swearing loudly with everyone. We, the knights, exist to protect Her Royal Highness Princess Smile. In order to make Her Royal Highness the most dazzling existence, we are willing to dedicate everything. The picture on the big screen turned into a close-up of Koji. The man picked up the long sword in his hand, pointed to the center of the picture, and began to encourage the personal guards. What do you think should be done with the purple-haired bastards who spied on Her Royal Highness Princess existence? Heavenly punishment. Heavenly punishment, everyone in the audience said in unison, and the resentment seemed to have turned into the sharpest sword. Then, let's start arranging tasks. The man stood in the center, looking at the crowd through the mask. Team 2, responsible for both sides of the stage, stop suspicious people who intend to approach the stage. Team 3, responsible for the backstage of the stage, prevent all irrelevant people from entering and leaving. Team 4, responsible for maintaining the order of the whole world. Team 1, go on stage with me, let the princess we protect become the most dazzling existence tomorrow. Do you understand? Yes, my lord. Then that's it for today, disband. After watching everyone leave in an orderly manner, the man breathed a long sigh of relief and took off the mask on his face. It was Makoto Takahashi. Great Demon Lord Ogata, I'm ready here, everything is waiting for tomorrow. Makoto Takahashi's voice echoed in the classroom. I hope that purple-haired bastard will come tomorrow, otherwise it will be meaningless. In the expectation of many people, the school festival of Sacred Heart College has finally arrived. During this period, the school festival of Sacred Heart College has been bombarded and reported by many media in turn, and it can be said to be famous. The moment the school gate opened, a large number of people began to pour in, and the originally quiet college became lively. After entering Sacred Heart Academy, everyone followed the brochures issued at the school gate and the instructions on the road and began to move towards the largest venue of Sacred Heart Academy. Sacred Heart Academy, it used to be a noble academy where young ladies gathered. The man with yellow hair and glasses looked at the brochure in his hand and sighed. There are only about 1,000 students in the whole school, but there is an auditorium that can accommodate 5,000 people. The life of young ladies is really, tisk tisk tisk. Akito, G&G is next to you. Landai looked at G&G's gloomy face, complained with some gloating, and then sighed with some regret. I wonder where Yadu and the others are. Can't you just call and ask? The man with yellow hair and glasses said this, and Landai's face turned red. How can such a thing be done? Landai shouted excitedly, but in a blink of an eye, he saw the strangely behaving new wife Ag over there. Isn't that Ag-kun? Ah, and Fukuda-kun and the others. It doesn't matter, let's go to the auditorium quickly. The yellow-haired man with glasses took G&G's hand and walked quickly to the auditorium. The auditorium was already full of people, and there was constant noise. Landai's eyes were sharp. Seeing two pianos on the stage, nothing else, he couldn't help but be curious. Just when Landai was about to say something to the yellow-haired man with glasses, the lights in the entire auditorium were suddenly turned off. Welcome everyone to the school festival of Sacred Heart College. A beautiful female voice suddenly came from the dark stage, making the entire venue quiet. Then next, our Sacred Heart College princess, Princess Rina Ogata, will be for everyone. That's it, a cold male voice suddenly came, surprising everyone present. The projected lights suddenly lit up, and a group of people dressed in black gathered in the center of the stage as if they suddenly appeared. And the person in the middle was Rina Ogata, who was sitting in a wheelchair. I am Zero, and also the most loyal Night King of Princess Rina. The man pushing the wheelchair, wearing a strange mask, slowly walked to the front of the stage, looked at the audience, and slowly said, people who come to participate in the school festival, fear us, and crave us. We are the most devout believers and the most loyal guards of Princess Rina, and we are the Black Knights. Ah, no mistake, the person who calls himself Zero. Landai was speechless, looking at the yellow-haired glasses man. It is definitely Tsuyuni Makoto. We are very sad. Takahashi Makoto, who calls himself Zero, covered his chest with his hands. Our beloved princess has suffered a lot of grievances in recent days. A purple-haired bastard who doesn't know anything actually dared to shamelessly claim to be the lover of our princess and trample on the pure feelings of our princess. As soon as Takahashi Makoto's voice fell, an uproar sounded in the auditorium. Sitting in the corner, Kuji, who was in disguise, was so angry that his face turned blue. He wanted to rush onto the stage and kick Zero, played by Makoto Takahashi, off. We are questioning the voice of heaven, the cry of earth, the soul of man. That purple-haired bastard who dares not show his face, why do you impose non-existent feelings on our princess? As Makoto Takahashi shouted loudly on the stage, the noise below the stage slowly died down. Just as everyone thinks, I am the one who made a promise with Her Royal Highness the Princess, Takahashi Makoto continued to speak, looking at the audience below the stage with cold eyes. You bastard who tried to impersonate me, since you dare to impersonate me, you must have realized it. Purple-haired bastard, I heard that you are a cartoonist. You dare to call yourself a cartoonist for such a meaningless work? For those cartoonists who work silently, being published together with your work is definitely the greatest humiliation in their lives. Purple-haired bastard, I heard that you are a singer? You dare to call yourself a singer for wailing like a stray dog? Today, you should prick up your dog ears and use your long rotten and corrupt heart to listen to what music is and what is the resonance from the soul. Purple-haired bastard, the king's feast held by cartoonists is not it is you, a lowly scumbag, who can join. Common people are still qualified to listen to the king's words, but you, a lowly scumbag, don't even have this qualification. Princess Rina, a scumbag who is trapped in delusion, tried to pollute your pure feelings and trample on the dignity of cartoonists. Takahashi Makoto suddenly knelt on one knee in front of Rina, like the most devout believer, and appealed loudly, please withdraw your kindness, give the arrogant people appropriate despair, and send the soul that should not exist in the world back to the abyss of hell. Then, please start listening to the prelude to the beginning of the school festival. The lights on the stage suddenly dimmed, and the female voice that was suspected to be the host sounded again, piano duet from the Night King and the Princess. The stage suddenly fell into darkness, but people in the auditorium whispered. The audience couldn't help but start discussing, what Takahashi Makoto said before, was it just the opening performance of the school festival, or the real truth? The stage suddenly lit up, and sitting in front of the piano was Rina, wearing a white princess dress. The only light attracted everyone's attention in the auditorium to Rina. That kid is really bold. But maybe it's just as he said. The great devil Ogata below had an extremely fanatical light in his eyes. Today's Rina will definitely become the most dazzling existence. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 47. I remember when Makoto Takahashi watched the first episode of Symphony and heard Prince Kayaki and Sister Nota playing double piano music, the shock that came directly from the soul was beyond words. So today at the school festival, when the piano sounded, the whole auditorium was also silent. Cheerful music flowed from between the black and white keys and began to reverberate throughout the auditorium. If Takahashi Makoto's provocative speech before gave the whole auditorium a sense of pressure that a storm was coming, then the cheerful piano music now is like a rainbow crossing the sky after a storm, making people feel peaceful. And peace. Although this is not the first time that Takahashi Makoto and Rina have played together, Takahashi Makoto can still feel that this is the most tacit cooperation between the two since they have played together. When the last note began to echo in the auditorium, Takahashi Makoto and Rina smiled at each other, saying nothing. After a moment of silence, roaring applause began to ring out from the entire auditorium. The faces of Murongzai, Granny Allen, and the others were full of surprise and approval. Maybe others can't hear it, but they, who have been studying music for many years, can hear it. The ensemble played by Makoto Takahashi and Rina Chi is a clear improvement compared to before. This is our princess. As the applause gradually faded away, Takahashi Makoto walked to the front desk again. Our princess, who is like the sun, is not the kind of purple-haired scum who can be bullied at will? How can an unknown bastard trample on His Highness's pure feelings? How should we, the knights of Her Royal Highness, deal with the purple-haired bastard? The crime deserves to be killed. The heart deserves to be punished. As the renegards shouted in unison, the entire auditorium fell into a fanatical atmosphere. Your Highness, Princess Rina, Makoto Takahashi walked up to Rina and knelt down on one knee again. Your Highness, whom we protect, please turn your kindness and forgiveness into thunder to judge the rude and offensive ones. Disciple. As soon as the stage went dark, the audience in the entire auditorium began to fall silent. This method, like a drama performance, makes the audience hooked, but for a certain person, it is suffering every minute and every second. The lights suddenly illuminated Rina, and with their peripheral vision, the audience could see Makoto Takahashi standing behind Rina, and the piano in front of them had been replaced by an electronic keyboard. Rina looked back at Makoto Takahashi nervously, and found a certain Chuyunibu tapping his fingers in fascination. For some reason, her heart, which had been a little nervous just now, suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. Rina took a deep breath and kept cheering herself up. That's right, I am the protagonist today. I want to be the most dazzling existence. This is the agreement I made with Chang-kun. Let go of the dreams and future that are engraved in your heart. Even if you abandon the future, it doesn't matter. The dreamlike electronic music started playing. Unlike the previous two piano music, the rhythm at the beginning was extremely intense and hot, and the atmosphere in the auditorium suddenly became lively. The intro distributes treble, mid-range, and bass almost perfectly. With sharp metal sounds, electric flow sounds, low beats, and Rina's vibrato, the song completely ignited the audience's enthusiasm as soon as it started. Perhaps it's because Rina used auto-suggestion to fully express the momentum that Makoto Takahashi wanted to show. Rina's singing skills have to be admired. Her clearly discernible voice, even under the noisy electronic sounds, still shocked the audience. There are no euphemistic narratives or implicit expressions in the lyrics. The direct thoughts and courage to move forward are perfectly integrated into the lyrics. Perhaps because it was more in line with Rina's thoughts at the moment, after the whole song was sung, the entire auditorium fell into a state of frenzy. Purple-haired bastard, do you feel it? This song that can penetrate heaven and earth is the railgun that belongs to Her Royal Highness the Princess. After the song ended, Takahashi Makoto stood in front of Rina again and shouted provocatively, "Zaphead, oh, I heard you are a singer? Can you sing with such momentum?" Makoto Takahashi walked back to Rina, held Rina's hand, walked to the front of the stage, took a deep breath, and asked loudly, "Your Highness, are you shining brightly today?" Shine. Dazzle. Under the leadership of the guards, the atmosphere of the entire auditorium was completely ignited. But I think it's not enough. Makoto Takahashi shook his head with some regret, because our princess is so cute and beautiful. Is it enough to just be shining? Are you satisfied? Not enough. Not satisfied. The audience in the audience cooperated very well and began to shout loudly. Speaking of which, what else does that middle-class Chang want to do? Landai looked at the enthusiastic audience around him, then looked at his good partner, Mr. Huang-haired glasses, with a sympathetic expression on his face. Now I suddenly sympathize with Kuji. Yes, Cheng's performance today will definitely make the headlines tomorrow. The yellow-haired glasses man pushed up his glasses with a smile on his face, but I feel very happy, in every aspect. The two good friends make eye contact and have a perfect understanding. Black Knights, are you ready? The lights on the stage gradually dimmed, but the audience could still hear Takahashi Makoto's voice. Come, welcome with me, Her Royal Highness the world's first princess. Yes, Takahashi Makoto even brought out the song of the virtual singer Hatsune Miku. In this parallel world, the green-haired lady with green onions did not appear, so Takahashi Makoto slightly adapted the song and made it a song tailor-made for Rina. matching the title of Princess Rina today. Rina stood in the center of the stage and began to sing. Takahashi Makoto led the Black Knights composed of the personal guards and also stood on the stage to dance with her. Takahashi Makoto was closest to Rina and was the one who could feel Rina's singing skills the most. Compared to some singers who sold their faces and acted cute in their previous lives, Rina's singing skills were really excellent. Unlike the previous song, this song Your Highness, the world's #1 princess fully expresses the cuteness of a girl's coquettishness. If the song Only My Railgun sung by Rina before showed the girl's resolute and stubborn side, then the song she is singing now shows the image of a weak girl, which makes me feel pity. The great demon King Ogata, who was still cold, had a burning look in his eyes, which completely betrayed him. Looking at Rina, who was in great shape on the stage, the great demon King Ogata had to sigh that the two songs written by Makoto Takahashi were very well arranged. Strongness and weakness fully showed the girl's changeable charm. However, the great demon King Ogata also had a headache, because there was still Rina's concert later. What a troublesome little devil, the great demon King Ogata took off his glasses and rubbed his temples with a headache. After today, Rina will become the world's #1 princess. As Rina's singing ended, the whole stage fell into darkness. At first, the audience thought there were other programs, so they didn't make a noise. It was just that after a long time, the lights on the stage were not lit again, so the audience couldn't sit still. Ahem, I declare that the school festival of Sacred Heart College has officially begun, the host's voice came from the stage, which made the audience below the stage stunned. Afterwards, the whole hall was filled with complaints. Everyone wanted to hear Rina singing again, and they completely ignored what the host said. At the door of the dressing room behind the stage, a large group of guards in black uniforms gathered together, all wanting to see the true face of the man who called himself Zero. Although it's for Her Highness the Princess, we absolutely don't agree with the Night King or anything like that, one of the leading women said angrily, although we were forced to cooperate with that guy before due to some pressure. However, for a suspicious person who refuses to disclose his name, we must not hand Her Highness the Princess over to him. That's right. That's right, the rest of the guards agreed at the same time. Her Highness the Princess belongs to all of us, and that guy who calls himself the Night King is simply an unknown existence. How can he be worthy of Her Highness the world's #1 princess? As expected, Takahashi Makoto she took off most of her disguise, and walked out of the dressing room slowly with the mask Ichigo wore when he was in his hollow form. You agreed to cooperate at the beginning because you were under pressure, right? Do you want to destroy the bridge now? Zero, if you really want to be with our princess. The woman who led the group before stood in front of Takahashi Makoto with a triumphant smile on her face. Take off your mask, reveal your identity, and accept our sanctions. I remember you are the captain of the first team, right? Takahashi Makoto nodded thoughtfully. In other words, even if your princess the Lord has acknowledged me, but if he wants to be with the princess, do I also need to go through your guards? Or are you just deliberately making things difficult for me? Zero, although I am very grateful for everything you have done for the princess, but... The leading woman, the captain of the first team, looked at Takahashi Makoto with a somewhat unfriendly look. We absolutely do not agree with those who hide their heads and show their tails. Oh, it seems that today's divination is correct. Takahashi Makoto scratched his head helplessly, and slowly pulled out a wooden sword from his waist. Before the battle, I want to ask you have one thing to do. King, are you arrogant? I don't know what you mean. The captain of the first team motioned everyone to move aside, with a disdainful expression on his face. Let me make it clear to you first, I am the runner-up of the East Continent Women's Kendo. As long as you can beat me, then. As the King of Knights. Takahashi Makoto's somewhat low voice began to sound. Of course I am arrogant. So, let you feel the reason why the king is arrogant. Gate of Truth, I summon you in my name, and the seal is lifted. A war in front of the locker room door officially began after the school festival was announced to start. Rina, who was dressed up, looked at the people passing by and was a little nervous, worried about being recognized. She had made an appointment with Takahashi Makoto before to meet at the school gate after the performance, but Takahashi Makoto seemed to be late. Just when Rina was a little anxious, Takahashi Makoto appeared. Takahashi Makoto carried a skull bag and slowly walked to Rina's side, bowing slightly. "Sorry to keep you waiting, Your Highness, the world's #1 princess." A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 48. It has been 2 full weeks since the end of the Sacred Heart Academy School Festival. Recently, my companion cats seem to appear less often. Were they really captured? Makoto Takahashi lay on the table, spinning the brush in his hand boredly, or were they killed by the mysterious forces in the dark world? What? Alas, mortal bones are mortal bones after all. Are they not even qualified to be cannon fodder? Makoto Takahashi has already started drawing a new comic. After all, in order to kill the purple-haired bastard, Makoto Takahashi felt that he wasted a lot of time. According to the data provided by Yoshida 2 weeks ago, the Black Flame King's points have now surpassed Makoto Takahashi. You really can't let your guard down for a moment. Makoto Takahashi looked at the drawings on the table, and after another 2 weeks, the gap in points has probably widened a lot. I thought there was a cheat before. I underestimated my opponent, it was really my mistake. Takahashi Makoto picked up Shounen Junk on the table and began to read the works of the Lord of Black Flame. I have to say that the protagonist's personality is very consistent with the characteristics of the magazine. The entire comic is full of all kinds of passionate battles. Takahashi Makoto almost read it in one sitting. But this new work of mine is a great move to reverse the disadvantage. Makoto Takahashi looked at the drawings placed on the table, a confident light flashed in his eyes. This is the work that made me feel the most deeply in my previous life. Comics. Hey, is this a new comic? Yoshida suddenly picked up the drawings and started flipping through them. Huh? The characters are very distinctive. My beloved cat, when did you come in? Makoto Takahashi was startled. Didn't you die in the dark world? I originally hoped that you could rest in peace on the battlefield. Damn it, who used the resurrection of the dead on you? Stop saying these boring words, Takahashi Makoto. Yoshida tugged at Takahashi Makoto's mouth with some displeasure and began to enter the preaching mode. Speaking of which, you are about to enter your sophomore year of high school in a few months, right? It's time for me to graduate from the middle school disease. Hey, are you listening to me? Sadaharu, have you been in a rebellious phase recently? Makoto Takahashi grabbed Sadashu who was passing by and put it in front of him. Didn't I tell you before? Don't just bring suspicious men home. Where is the reserve of being a dog? Woof woof woof. Sadaharu struggled, broke free from Takahashi Makoto's hands, and quickly ran out the door. Takahashi-chan wanted to say something, but after seeing the person at the door, he was stunned. Well, I'm sorry to bother you, I'm... The man with shoulder-length hair at the door showed half of his body timidly. Yoharu, Makoto Takahashi looked surprised at first, then calmed down and nodded silently. It seems that you have reached this stage. Is the super evolution finally completed? In other words, the time for the decisive battle has arrived. Yoshida, the man walked up behind Yoshida with a frightened look on his face and looked at Makoto Takahashi curiously. This person is. Do you even want to betray me, Sadaru? Makoto Takahashi looked at the man coldly, with a heartbroken expression, and began to sigh. Think about who saved you from the evil Demon King in the first place. Come out. Who gave you a reason to live? Who gave you the goal of survival so that you are no longer confused? Ding-chun, you betrayed me just after you completed your super evolution. Woof woof woof. The white puppy Sadaharu at the door was biting a newspaper and slowly came to Takahashi Makoto. wagging its tail. After Makoto Takahashi was silent for a moment, his eyes wandered between the man behind Yoshida and Sadaharu for a moment, and he clapped his hands in sudden realization. So that's it? Sadaharu, you have actually mastered the clone technique and transformation, these two types of ninjutsu. Just stop it. Yoshida couldn't stand it anymore, and hit Makoto Takahashi hard on the head with a textbook-style knife. In the living room, Takahashi, Makoto, and the unknown man sat opposite each other, while Yoshida sat at the head of the table holding the drawing. Ahem, Yoshida coughed deliberately and introduced to Takahashi Makoto. Takahashi Makoto, this person is Hiramaru Kazuya. Just like you, he is a genius cartoonist. Oh, my beloved cat. Makoto Takahashi squinted his eyes and looked at Yoshida, looking a little unhappy. Are you sure? Is this guy really a genius and not just the same thing as a purple-haired bastard? I'm sure of this, Yoshida replied firmly. Before Hiramaru-kun drew comics, he had never read comics. He only came into contact with comics by chance. And only with a copy of Shonen Jump. After thinking about it myself, I drew an excellent work. See Otter No 11 was well received by the editor. You are very good. Makoto Takahashi turned to look at Hiramaru-kun. Since all my cats have said so, then I will mercifully invite you to join the feast of the future king. Brave little sea otter, oh, risk your life and march towards the throne. Ahem. Yoshida interrupted Takahashi Makoto's words with a dark face, and turned to look at Hiramaru Kazuya. Hiramaru-kun, as you can see, this second-year high school student is the Takahashi I told you before. Cheng, the pen name is Phoenix Academy Murder. The Phoenix Academy is really murderous. Hiramaru-kun looked at Yoshida with a puzzled look on his face. Who is it? With a pop sound, Yoshida's palm kissed his forehead hard. Hey, teacher Phoenix Academy, may I ask why you want to draw comics? The little sea otter looked at Makoto Takahashi curiously. Is it true that you were inspired by the Yoshida family? Instigation. Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida doubtfully and found that the latter turned his head unnaturally. Sure enough, there is a secret. Little sea otter, please tell me the specific situation. If it's my familiar cat's fault, then how about we hang him up and beat him half to death today? Sure enough, Mr. Phoenix Academy was also deceived by the Yoshida family. Little sea otter suddenly complained with a plaintive look on his face, looking at Makoto Takahashi with the same eyes as his companions. When I got off work before, I heard two students discussing, saying that drawing comics can earn money, women, and status. So out of curiosity, I picked up the comics they left behind and started reading them. Then I felt that I could draw comics of that level, and then I started. I drew some to submit. Then what? Makoto Takahashi looked at the little sea otter curiously. What happened next? I feel like I have entered a strange world. Little sea otter looked sad. I resigned from the company because I wanted to draw comics. I thought that by drawing comics, I could bid farewell to the overtime life, but I didn't expect, cartoonists work all year round. It seems that the path I have chosen is wrong. Have you lost your way on the road called life, little sea otter? Makoto Takahashi looked at the little sea otter with sympathy, then looked at Yoshida with contempt. My beloved cat, you have already started. Are you heading towards the path of scum? Is that so? Yoshida smiled awkwardly, but Hiramaru-kun is really talented. His first work was submitted to the serialization conference, but he has a good chance of being serialized and becoming a manga artist. Cartoonist? Me, little sea otter looked like he couldn't believe it. Perhaps I thought about it for a moment at that time, but thinking about it now, I was definitely obsessed with it at the time. Alas! Confused people, the king will listen to your prayers and guide you on the way forward. Makoto Takahashi stood up, walked in front of the little sea otter, and said with a sacred look, So, child, tell me your grievances. I don't want to work, as if he had been given some hint by Takahashi Makoto. Little Sea Otter's negative personality was triggered and he began to vent the negative and dark emotions in his heart. Why do humans have to work? Eat when you want, sleep when you want. How great would it be to become a giant panda in the zoo? Then, you can roughly guess what happened next. Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida, who had his head lowered, with a sarcastic look on his face. Then someone said something like, "You are very talented or you are a genius. I started to persuade you to start drawing comics. And that person must be my familiar cat, right?" "Yes, that's right." The little sea otter looked at Makoto Takahashi happily. "It's the Yoshida family. Finally someone can understand me. Teacher Phoenix Academy, I will be your most loyal believer from now on." "Takahashi Makoto, I want to talk to you alone." Yoshida looked at Makoto Takahashi, who was smiling but not smiling, and suddenly interrupted forcefully. While Yoshida was taking Takahashi Makoto away, he did not forget to tell the little sea otter, "Here American, please take a look at some of the information Takahashi Makoto has here first. I didn't bring you here today to complain. My beloved cat, what do you want to say?" Makoto Takahashi turned his head and looked over at the little sea otter, who was reading comics-related books, and glared at Yoshida with a look of resentment. "You want me to? Can I help you to convince the little sea otter to continue drawing comics? But in exchange, my beloved cat, have you prepared the corresponding sacrifice?" Here American is a very talented person. Faced with Takahashi Makoto's request as a junior high school student, Yoshida unexpectedly did not refute, but looked at Takahashi Makoto with a serious look on his face. "Just like what I said to Teacher Murong before. That's the way. People who are talented in a certain field should be allowed to show their talents in that field. There may be many geniuses in this world, but there are more geniuses who gradually disappear because they don't choose the right stage. I can feel what Here American will become if he doesn't draw comics. But, the evil eye of the devil can see through the future." Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida, who looked serious, and sighed. "So what if you are a genius? If people can't live happily, then is there any meaning in life?" "Maybe you are right." A trace of confusion flashed across Yoshida's face, as if he remembered something, and a victorious smile appeared on his face. "But Makoto Takahashi, don't you want more people to join the feast? There seem to be less than 10 people participating now, right? What you want to say is..." Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. "How is the so-called king selected? There's something..." Yoshida deliberately ignored Takahashi Makoto, and instead murmured to himself, "The so-called king is to defeat challengers one by one, make people fear them, and completely conquer everyone, even every opponent. Such a existence can worthy of being called a king. My beloved cat." Makoto Takahashi patted Yoshida on the shoulder with a pleased expression. "Can you finally feel the dignity of a king? There is progress. So the way to prove the greatness of a king..." A smirk appeared on Yoshida's face. "That is to completely defeat and completely conquer everyone who has the opportunity to become a challenger." "I know." Takahashi Makoto seemed to have been fooled by Yoshida. "Leave the matter of the little sea otter to me." "Then I'll leave it to you, Takahashi Makoto." Yoshida smiled happily as Takahashi Makoto walked towards Hiramaru. "Little sea otter, do you want money, women, and status? If you want, I can give you all." Takahashi Makoto looked at the somewhat moved little sea otter and continued to talk. "Work hard to start serialization and join the feast of the king together. When you become the king, you will get everything you want." "Really? Can I really get everything I want?" Little sea otter was a little confused, looked at Yoshida, and found that Yoshida nodded seriously. After thinking about some things, he agreed with expectation. "Since Mr. Feng Guangyuan said so, then I will go to participate." Task record: suspected new toy acquisition completed. Items obtained: a toy named Little Sea Otter. Achievements obtained: suspected to trigger a hidden task, the awakening of the middle school second year attached personality black-bellied sadist. The impression of little sea otter on you is, mentor. Yoshida's impression of you is, a kid who is easily fooled. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 49. It has been a month since the showdown between several cartoonists in the special issue. Today the official results will be announced, and the top 3 will get the opportunity to be serialized. The Yachin Menjai group next to Takahashi Makoto is waiting anxiously with a trepidation. The result of this result will determine whether the work can be serialized. For Landai, this is the first step towards his dream. However, in comparison, Takahashi Makoto is much calmer, and continues to lie on the table and draw new comics. Takahashi Makoto didn't think too much about the result, as long as he could completely crush the purple-haired bastards. Well, I know. I am very satisfied with this result. So, when Yoshida called, Takahashi Makoto's indifferent tone surprised Yoshida. He thought that Takahashi Makoto was trying to cover up his failure, so he kindly comforted Takahashi Makoto, "It doesn't matter. After all, this is a comic. No matter how great the music is, it can't be shown. My beloved cat, is this self-deceiving excuse of yours considered a comfort?" Takahashi Makoto said in a somewhat unkind tone. "Failure is failure. If you can't face failure calmly, then how can you move forward? Instead of indulging in it, if you can't extricate yourself from the mud, you might as well stand up in the mud and continue to smile and move forward amid the ridicule of others. Although I think you are right, the third-place result is not a failure," Yoshida sighed. "By the way, do you want to know the specific number of votes for the 5 works this time?" "Oh, how many votes did that purple-haired bastard get?" Takahashi Makoto sneered. 300? Or 250? Hee, only 108, Yoshida said happily. "According to the forecast, there should have been quite a few fans who would help vote, but thanks to you, thanks to our school festival, after the festival, basically no one voted for him. Ah, I suddenly feel a little regretful," Takahashi Makoto sighed with an unsatisfied look. "If I had known this, I should have announced the performance of the school festival earlier. Oh, what a pity. By the way, how is your new work going?" Yoshida suddenly changed the subject and began to care about Takahashi Makoto's new work. "You only showed me a part last time, what do you think about the rest of the content?" "There are about 3 chapters of the content that has been completed so far." Takahashi Makoto glanced at the comics, with a confident look on his face. "My cat, get ready to welcome the king's return. This work is my trump card to chase the Black Flame King and climb to the top again." "Really confident?" Yoshida complained. "Then I'll come to you this afternoon to get the drawings." "Not today." Takahashi Makoto looked at the calendar on the wall, the date marked with a red circle, and said to the phone with expectation, "Today is the most important day for my princess, don't contact me today." Before Yoshida could say anything, Takahashi Makoto hung up the phone. "That's right, today is the day of Rina's concert, and Takahashi Makoto has no time to care about the voting results. Getting up early in the morning to draw comics is to free up time in the evening to go to Rina's concert. But will things really be as simple as imagined? Damn it, why don't you let me in?" Takahashi Makoto looked at the great demon King Ogata with a face full of resentment. "This is the first concert of Her Royal Highness the Princess. That's why I can't let you in." The great demon King Ogata pushed his glasses and looked at Takahashi Makoto coldly. "This time is different from the school festival. If you, a middle school kid, are allowed to go on stage and make a mess, will Rina's concert still be able to proceed normally?" "Tisk." Takahashi Makoto turned his head away and complained a little weakly, "Who would make a mess at Princess Rina's important concert?" "Well? Then what are these things you are carrying?" The great demon King Ogata pointed at the items on Takahashi Makoto's body. His voice was a little low. According to your style of doing things in an unconventional way, if you are allowed in this concert, it will definitely cause a lot of trouble. The roses are dedicated to Her Royal Highness Princess Rina. Takahashi Makoto raised the big bouquet of red roses in his hand. So what's the matter with the wooden sword? The wise eyes of the great demon King Ogata seemed to see through all of Takahashi Makoto's thoughts. Are you planning to confess at Rina's concert? No, according to my understanding, you will definitely do something unexpected. For example, suddenly holding a rose on the stage, and taking your princess away from the concert in the surprise of everyone, so, you will never be allowed in. Read your mind. Takahashi Makoto looked pale and looked at the great demon King Ogata in horror. Great demon King Ogata, you actually, when did you master such a brutal skill? Humph. This kind of thing. A trace of coldness flashed in the eyes of the great demon King Ogata. Only a middle school kid like you can do it. Seeing the great demon King Ogata turn around and prepare to enter the venue, Takahashi Makoto wanted to follow him in quickly, but was stopped by the kind and serious security uncle. Damn it! Great Demon Lord Ogata, stop right there. Takahashi Makoto, who was stopped, looked at the Great Demon Lord Ogata, who walked to the door and shouted loudly in dissatisfaction. The Great Demon King Ogata really stopped? No, not only did he stop, he actually turned around and walked towards Takahashi Makoto. Sure enough, when you deal with the Great Demon King, you must act like a king. Makoto Takahashi looked at the Great Demon King Ogata, who was getting closer and closer, with a smile on his face. Have you regretted it, Great Demon King Ogata? Oh. For the sake of Princess Rina, I will spare you today and lead the way. I don't like being in debt to others, Demon King Ogata said coldly, so come with me. As expected, have you surrendered to me? Makoto Takahashi looked happy, but after following the Great Demon King Ogata for a while, he discovered a problem. There seems to be something wrong on the road. Great Demon King Ogata, are you trying to find a dark corner to kill me? It's not that you look down on you. With your strength, even 20 more people are no match for me. Takahashi Makoto, don't you understand? The Great Demon King Ogata stopped, turned around and looked at Takahashi Makoto coldly. The expression on his face and the look in his eyes were full of inexplicable emotions. What do you understand? Looking at the look on the face of the Great Demon King Ogata, Takahashi Makoto felt a little flustered for some reason. So he looked at the Great Demon King Ogata, pretending to be calm. There is no one around. Do you want to show off with me here? Great Demon King Ogata, come here. Just before Her Highness the Princess's concert, you can see our bravery. Alas! Are you obsessed with the fantasy world? Have you forgotten the reality? Demon King Ogata sighed with emotion, with some sympathy in his tone. What a pitiful little devil. What's with that tone and look in your eyes? Makoto Takahashi pulled out his wooden sword with some annoyance. Speak clearly, don't look at me with that look, and don't talk to me with that sympathetic tone. Have you noticed it? Demon King Ogata said without changing his expression, pushing up his glasses, or did you know it from the beginning and were just pretending to be confused? Of course, I personally think you are more inclined to the latter. Takahashi Makoto didn't speak. He slowly put down the wooden sword in his hand without saying a word. His face was terrifyingly gloomy. It seems that you are indeed aware of it. Demon King Ogata let out a long sigh. As I said before, I don't like to be in debt to others. Although I am very grateful to you for the school festival, some principles I still need to make it clear to you. Takahashi Makoto, are you really worthy of Rina and your so-called princess? Listening to the words of Demon King Ogata, Makoto Takahashi gritted his teeth and looked at Demon King Ogata expressionlessly. He held the wooden sword tightly in his right hand and his body was shaking a little. That's right, Rina has become a dazzling princess now. Demon King Ogata looked up at the night sky, as if talking to himself. That little girl who used to like to cry, Unknowingly it has grown up. From a dim little star that no one noticed, it has grown into an existence like the sun that lights up the sky. But Takahashi Makoto, you are still stuck at the very beginning. Ogata Demon King's tone suddenly became sharp. You were supposed to be the object of Rina's pursuit. You were originally the one that Rina had always hoped to keep out of reach. Over the years, you have always stayed in the same place. Can you still be shameless with Rina like this? The wooden sword in Takahashi Makoto's hand fell to the ground, and his face turned pale. There were many things he wanted to say, but he couldn't say anything. What I said is wrong, so do you want to defend yourself? Demon King Ogata looked at the pale Makoto Takahashi, without any intention of showing mercy, and continued to say sharply, the person who has been chasing you silently before, it's Rina. But now, Rina has not only caught up with you, but also left you far behind. This is indeed the case. Takahashi Makoto cannot defend it. Everything is just as Ogata Demon King said, and Takahashi Makoto can actually feel it. When Rina became the most dazzling presence at the school festival, Takahashi Makoto had such an idea. Seeing Rina becoming more and more dazzling, Takahashi Makoto felt that he was getting further and further away from Rina. Sure enough, as the great Demon King Ogata said, is he the one left behind? The reason why I want to remind you is because I don't like to be in debt to others. Demon King Ogata still looked cold, looking at you. I think you already understood it, and you just pretended not to know. So consider it. Are you okay? Should you choose to leave Rina, or... Yes, I may have been living in confusion since I came to this world. Makoto Takahashi raised his head and looked at the great Demon King Ogata. Now my head is also in chaos, and many things are unclear. But Ogata, great Demon King Fang, are you still addicted to those illusory worlds? Demon King Ogata shook his head helplessly. Do as you like, this is all I want to say, and then we will be clear-cut. Maybe before, I was just moving forward in confusion, not seeing the future clearly, and not knowing the future. Makoto Takahashi raised his head and looked at the disappearing figure of the great Demon King Ogata, with a firm look in his eyes, but I will still continue walking, because only in this way can I forget the confusion and find the existence I want to pursue. The king or something like that can't really be compared to the princess. Takahashi Makoto turned around and prepared to go home to draw comics. The one who can be with the princess can only be the Devil King. In that case, starting today, I will abandon the so-called king identity and completely transform into the Devil King. Ha 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 ha. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 50. When Takahashi Makoto returned home, he did not start drawing comics immediately. Instead, he looked at his still immature face in the mirror and suddenly felt an inexplicable emotion in his heart. Men should be strong. Who said this? Suddenly, for no apparent reason, he came to a strange world. Facing a similar but completely different life, Takahashi Makoto is not some arrogant existence. After a sigh in his heart, he can transform into a bulldozer and expand the Crystal Palace or something. Worry, uneasiness, fear, these emotions can't be gotten rid of at all. Pretend to be a second-year disease. Even if it is considered a second-year disease with abnormal behavior, it is better than being sliced and studied, right? In his previous life, Takahashi Makoto was worn away by society. He wanted to break free but could only struggle helplessly. After crossing, Takahashi Makoto just wanted to live happily and live heartlessly. There is no long-cherished wish to unify the world, no ideal to save the world, and no consciousness to become a messenger of justice. Takahashi Makoto knows very well that he is just an ordinary little person. Thinking about things beyond his ability is simply asking for trouble. But in reality, there are often people who say, as an adult, you should think like an adult, you are an adult now, you shouldn't act like a child, and so on. Is this kind of will and awareness imposed on others really what you, who think you are sensible and mature, expect? Are you sure it is what you expect, not your pure envy and jealousy of the past? The protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yuki Jide, can be said to be the most typical example. When Jide first entered the academy, he won and lost in duels, but he always enjoyed the joy brought by duels and was immersed in that joy. 1. Jide waved his hand, and a pure smile appeared on his face, without any impurities. What an interesting duel. Looking at Jide like that, although sometimes I want to complain that this protagonist is completely heartless, but as a viewer, looking at Jide's joyful smile, the envy from the bottom of my heart is really hard to describe. Sometimes, Jide has fallen into a disadvantageous situation where he is bound to lose, but he still enjoys the duel and the joy brought by the duel. Let's not talk about the protagonist's halo and other unfounded things. Jide really loves duels. Perhaps it is because Jide loves duels from the bottom of his heart and enjoys the fun brought by duels, so he succeeded in the last moment several times, right? But this is only in the early stage. In the later period, Jide began to grow up. The teacher, Professor Cobra, and the partners who lived with him day and night began to look forward to Jide's maturity, hoping that Jide could get rid of the childish and naive period and become a real reliable adult. After repeated trials, just as everyone expected, Jide matured, Jide grew up, Jide took on the due sense of responsibility, and even became a hero who saved the world. But as an audience, will you feel heartbroken when you see Jide becoming more and more sensible? The Jide who loved and enjoyed the fun of duels in the past is gone. The signature move that always appears regardless of winning or losing is gone. Jide has grown up, but has become unfamiliar. Sacrificing carefree innocence and romance in exchange for heavy enlightenment and maturity, is this the price of growth? If so, then this existence called life is too cruel. Although I still feel uneasy now, but oh. Takahashi Makoto looked at his smiling face in the mirror and raised his clenched fist vigorously. I really like this kind of life. Just like the clowns in the circus, even if they are sad inside, they still dress up funny. Maybe it's to please the audience, or maybe it's to hide the sadness in their hearts, but that outfit is like a mask, it has been deeply rooted in people's hearts. The mask of Shuyunibu, now that it's been put on, wear it forever. As long as you can live happily, then everything doesn't matter. Speaking of the great devil Ogata is really disgusting. The tone and eyes of the great devil Ogata when he spoke appeared again in Takahashi Makoto's mind. What living in a world of delusion, what indulging in an illusory world. That look when he was preaching, adults are really the most annoying thing. Mature? Sensible, Takahashi Makoto looked at himself in the mirror and began to give himself the self-suggestion called Shuyuni no confidence. These things, in my long life, there is plenty of time to think about them. Now I am Takahashi Makoto, Fengguangai Yuan-kuma, a time traveler with a golden finger, a person who created the world and destroyed the world, a crazy big devil. What does abnormal behavior have to do with it? What if I'm addicted to the fantasy world? What if I have Shuyunibu? Takahashi Makoto became more and more excited. I'm not the one who caused all this. I'm just a passive recipient. Heaven and earth, truth, dare you answer my question? Since I can't choose the world I want to live in, can't I decide how I want to live by myself? Saying not worthy of the princess, I know this kind of thing very well. But Ogata Demon King, I have been working hard. If a manga artist wants to be successful, he is not like an idol singer just as convenient and fast. Although the comics that people see are not my ideas, they are things I drew with my heart one stroke at a time. So I didn't do anything wrong. Makoto Takahashi picked up the phone and pressed a certain number, his eyes extremely firm. It was the great Demon King Ogata who was wrong. Kid, have you thought clearly? The waiting time was not long, and the speed with which Demon King Ogata answered the phone was quite impressive. Yeah, Think about it clearly. Makoto Takahashi walked to the balcony and looked at the night gradually lit up by neon lights. Ogata Demon King, as expected, I still hate you very much. The great Demon King Ogata fell silent. He seemed to be depressed by Takahashi Makoto's words. After a long time, he replied in a cold tone, I, who wholeheartedly expected you to change, really committed an incompetent crime. What a mistake to make up for. I am a cartoonist, not even a world-class cartoonist. Makoto Takahashi spoke in a serious tone, which made Demon King Ogata, who wanted to say something, listen quietly. After I came to this world and achieved a little success, I started to feel complacent and even forgot the most important thing. Huh. Makoto Takahashi started to take a deep breath, and then completely exploded. Great Demon King Ogata, what is success? What is strong? Makoto Takahashi completely burned the small universe, and at this moment entered the stage of explosion. As you expected, there will be joy and anger. All the conspiracies are calculated behind the glasses that can reflect the death light. Maybe it is what you call the adult world. But what's the point of that kind of life? Is that kind of life really happy? You have lost your so-called enthusiasm and your once innocent and noble soul. Great Demon King Ogata, I was also an adult in my previous life, even a little older than you. Makoto Takahashi adjusted his breathing, not intending to give Great Demon King Ogata a chance to interrupt, and continued to speak. He said, maybe other brats of this age cannot fully understand what you are talking about. But, don't underestimate me, Makoto Takahashi. There is someone who is almost 30 years old inside me. Soul. The so-called strong man, the so-called success does not mean achieving excellent results in a certain aspect. Makoto Takahashi clutched the phone tightly, his voice began to become a little deeper. Such a scenery may look very dazzling. But, that's not true strength, it's not true success. For so-called adults, especially men, it seems that crying and weakness are not allowed. Why can't we be weak? Why can't we cry? Maybe in your adult world, crying and weakness symbolize cowardice, incompetent, destined to become a loser and a weak person. Makoto Takahashi unlocked the fourth level of the gene lock, but in my eyes, those who dare not face their own weakness still pretend to be strong when they are sad. People who smile are the real weak and the real losers. I will be confused and I will feel uneasy, but even so, I will move forward without hesitation. If it is because I am afraid of the dark and the unknown enemy ahead, I keep my head down and say nothing, and dare not move forward. I don't know what others think of me. But I know that I am the real weak and the real loser if I stay where I am and dare not move forward. Ogata Demon King, maybe in your eyes, I am still the kid who immediately thinks of escaping when faced with difficulties, right? But you are wrong. The so-called man is to become strong for someone or a certain belief. Grit your teeth and stick to what you want to protect in your heart. Try your best to make a scene happily. It doesn't matter if you fall and fall behind, it doesn't matter if you fail and cry. If you fall and fall behind, stand up again and catch up with all your strength. As long as you do it and laugh again. Since I am already lagging behind Her Highness the Princess, I can just catch up. Makoto Takahashi yelled into the phone, perhaps the King of Heroes is not worthy of Her Highness the Princess, so it will be good if I become the Demon King. Ah! The most terrifying princess in the world must have the most terrifying and evil devil beside her. You're still the same ignorant brat. Ogata's evaluation was as cold and vicious as ever. Is that because you haven't broken free from the delusional fantasy world? So what if you break free? Makoto Takahashi became angry when he heard what the great Demon King Ogata said. Are you going to become an adult like you? That kind of life without enthusiasm, without ideals, and being exhausted, that kind of life what you call the adult world. I, Makoto Takahashi, would rather stay in the second grade for the rest of my life than mature and grow up. Really? Then I'll wait and see how many times you have to hit the wall before you can truly understand. Ogata, the great demon king, just watch. If you say that cartoonists are not worthy of the princess, Takahashi Makoto declared loudly with almost all his strength, then I will become the demon king. The day I become the great demon king who dominates the comics world, that's when I will take Rina away. Princess, I, the great demon king Hao Wing Kumat, will protect you.